Hello, everyone. We are on Public Test Branch. It's a fine Caturday afternoon. We are getting a 4v4 square off. 1,000 points to win it. 3,000 points per player. Got on the ANS team in the blue trunks. Hymars, Vine, Star 1954, and Jiro, I think it is? I think that's how you say the name. Jiro, something along those lines. Newer player, but they're getting into the game. So nice to see some new blood on the field. All right, Team 2, OSP in the orange trunks. We got Noek Vessel, and I can't remember the last thing on their name. Small Goodman, Sir Poopit, and Nokek. So we got Noek and Nokek. Now, if that's going to confuse anyone else, don't worry, it confuses me too when I see them in the pregame lobby. Anyways, we're on Tombstones. So we got B point and C point as the ANS's blue team natural, and then on the orange OSP, we got the D point and E point as theirs. A point, a neutral shooting gallery, very similar to Pillars. This map has a lot of that kind of verticality with some of these rock formations. Quite a dark map, though, so it can be a little bit hard to see some of the ships on it. We'll see just how things end up squaring off, seeing OSP with a whole bunch of different tracks coming in here, so looking like they're going for that the very wide style versus the ANS, which is bringing in, looks like, I think that's double Task Force Oak, and then, let's see, that's Vine's fleet there. I don't see, let's see, Star's deploying a Value Judgment, Jiro's deploying Value Judgment. I think that last one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 tags. Okay, so ANS going super thin. I was a little worried in the pregame lobby that they might not be bringing the most stuff, but they said, hey, we want to run this. So I said, all right, if we're going to run it first time, we're going to run it first time. Let's see how this one turns out. For all I know, they're bringing 8 experts. We're going to find this out in the game. So we didn't have the full ability to say, hey guys, let's go for, setting up a pregame lobby thing. Let's make sure these teams are balanced. Let's get carriers and stuff set up because a couple of people were already hanging out in lobby before we really started up. So this one might be a wash. It might be a very fun game. We're going to find out. Take a look-see here as we drop in. That appears to be a stock Value Judgment, if I ever saw one. Looks like Task Force Oak is on the field. Blue and kind of a yellowy color scheme here. Dark lighting of Tombstones does some differences for these various colors. I have not calibrated the camera today. I got to do that first. Hang on a second. There we go. That should be a little bit less silly proportions-wise. Anyways, so taking a look through these fleets. Should be fast for me to get through. We have got ourselves the Value Judgment and the Moral Failing. This is going to be Task Force Oak from Jiro here. One of the best starter fleets to kind of get your feet wet in the game. Got good point defense, good 450. Only thing I have to complain about it is that it lacks gun plotting center for the gun's accuracy, which is quite nice to have with those Mark 66s, but that's really all I got to say that I don't like about Oak. Oak is a good fleet. In fact, they liked it so much that they brought it twice. Here comes Star with their variant of it, Value Judgment and Moral Failing, 2 of them on the field here. So this is a slight refit of it, going with defenders and some rebounds on here for a little bit of flak. Got a comms jammer on the back of that. Then up top here, we're seeing a VLS-2, likely with the active decoys. Yep, very common to see that pairing. Got themselves big Raider drives in here, and just your general internals, reinforced snoot, big guns up front, nose towards enemy, works pretty well. Vine is coming in as the support player on this team. They've got themselves a bright banana yellow carrier, the Bent Goofy it's called. All right, internals look pretty normal on this thing. A bunch of Claymore bombers, 9 of them. A bunch of Tanto fighters of 2 varieties. These will probably be coil guns in these 20 mil if I had to guess. They've got some CWAX aircraft airborne now, going out to scout the map. They've got themselves a little VLS-3 launcher. Interesting. Not sure what these are. Going to be some size 3s, though, on either a bank. So, okay. 10 size 3 hybrids of some variety in there. Let's take a look around the map. Hymar is coming in as the cap player on this team. So, looking pretty good here. 2 frontliners, a support player, and then a cap fleet. Pretty good stuff. Got a beam destroyer here with a VLS-2. A couple of those defensive missiles inside of this thing. And we're going to see over here another beam destroyer. This one's set up kind of behind this rock to cover the top side point there. 3rd beam destroyer going down on the low side over this way, maybe making its way towards E point. We've got a Elant capper guy just kind of pointing itself towards enemy, trying to pick up those tracks. Got Elant number 2 up top on the B cap there, and then lastly Elant 3 down below the map trying to go for those cross fixes. What are the odds of it being size 3 anti-craft munitions? Not impossible. Those have been pretty popular lately, and they are very good at taking out those bombers. Anyways, let's see what the OSP brought against them. Going at the top list, we've got Nokek over here. Good old 450 Acello. Got some Aurora point defense on this thing, service as well. Golf ball comms jammer on the back and that bullseye on the chin. Looking pretty good overall. That is a nice standard Acello if we ever saw one. Scoring it's going to be, it looks like a kind of a jammer escort tug, jammer, talisman launcher, C-53. Checking the nose. Yeah, C-53 and then the SGM conventionals there. Nothing too fancy on that. They've got 1 of those, they've got 2 of those, they've got 3, this one double jammer, and then lastly they've got a naked shuttle here, actually no, it's not naked, it's got T-20s in a chat box. Nice little fleet there. Alright, now we're coming in with a flight of fighter craft coming out here. That is not all of theirs, that's some of it belonging to Poopit. Anyways, Light carrier here, the Journeyman, is teeing off with a bunch of Barracudas here, doing some air... Oh, they got themselves a Pike Fighter as well, probably doing that EO spotting if I can find it. Take a look. Hello, Hitman. You got your EO pod? Yes, you do. And the rest of Noak's fleet is going to be Naked Shuttle on the wings. Naked Shuttle up top. Are these Huntress? They are. Huntress scouting. Interesting stuff. And then probably this one. Yep, this is going to be the rocket with Sundrive. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3 of those Huntress shuttles. Rocket shuttle down below. T-20 Pavis Chaff Box Basic Capper. Then going to have another one of those ones over on the E point here. Going to see one waiting in reserve, and then the last one is going to be just another naked capper here, just with Bridge Master Cheapo. And it looks like they sent the obligatory A capper, which then got beamed because HIMARS is on the ball. Nice goalie work, HIMARS. Good for you. Wow. I love the beam noises. Anyways, Poop is coming in with a 3K more line, so aircraft advantage is being held on the OSP side. They've got more than the ANS is dedicated for their fleets. Looks pretty standard. The small drive? Really, Poop it? I badger people about this always. Bring yourself a big drive. It's worth it, damn it. Anyways, bunch of bombers loaded up in this thing. Sturgeons account 12 there. Plus, I think they've already got 4 airborne there. It looks like we see down here, yep, gun pods and some SDMs for air defenses. Nice way to see off some fighter craft trying to intercept you. Little tech there, making people think the bombers are undefended. Then suddenly they bark out 16 of those missiles at you, and you have to think twice. But small drive goes 15 or 5% faster. Buddy, I'm just saying, if 5% faster makes you, like, make or break in a game, you need a different drive. Like, that's not going to make enough of a difference. Anyways, what was Poop's the rest of the build? Let's see. They had some Cudas here, just a couple banks of those things. Looks like they got a bunch of them in pre-flight, flechette, and something. Got some Pikes here for EO spotting, and then some skiffs for just radar awareness overall, getting those off the deck. Finally, Small Goodman going to be coming in here with, looks like, a Plasma Obelisk. Yep, that's a Throngler. Good can opener device. Point top towards enemy, let her rip with those T-20 secondaries and that Plasma. This is going to be paired up with a T-30 Obelisk, and if I get... Ooh, interesting combo. A C-53 boat. All right, so 3 flavors of bulkers here. This one has a backpack with some fighter craft potential. Anything in there right now? Nope, looks like it is empty. Got some containers here with a blunt box. Not sure what that is intending. Also, they've got themselves a little pike craft. Nice little tech you can incorporate. 3 bulkers, kind of an interesting combo fleet. Don't typically see that loadout, but I want to see what they do with it. Anyways, that's the fleets, and I actually got through that in a reasonable time, so we'll just kind of see how things go about developing here in the battle space. HIMARS has a tiny little ship here that I believe just absolutely... Yeah, I think this thing's defender just like went, oh, hey, look, a fighter, and then it died. So yeah, gotta be careful going around the corners like that. Voodoo Flight is airborne from Poop. This thing has 20 mil, has some home on jam frags and some HE frags. Okay, so a couple home on jams there as a tech against jammer craft. You might see sometimes a flight of these. No. Here it is. Yeah, so some of these Tantos here will be equipped with jamming pods, so they can end up messing that up. These have illuminators, don't they? Or I think that's the illuminator pod. Where's the jam pod? It's an interesting mixed flight. Yeah, there you go. That's the jam pod, so... Home on jam size ones is a tech against that. Anyways, Caltrop flight might be getting found out over here if Voodoo just continues this way. Good radar coverage from these various little Huntress shuttles around. Yeah, bombers unaware of the danger they're in, I think, right now. Now looks like they're starting to head back to the barn. Caltrop flight pulling back here, recognizing, hey, maybe we're on track, boss. I don't think we should be here anymore. Stalwart provides the air control over here. 8 kilometers radar detection. Is Caltrop detected? Yes, they are. Going to see Voodoo Flight now starting to kick off the engage range here. We'll see just what kind of interception is set up here. Meteor Flight headed their way here. Have jam pods, have some S1s, have some 20 mil. Still, that's 14 fighter bombers that you might not want to be tangoing with. Actually, these are just set up as fighter right now. Couple of these coming out. What do we have here? I just saw EO on these. Are those EO size ones? That's an EO SDM one. Dear God. That's expensive. Well, it gets a kill at least, but I'm pretty sure that missile costs more than that craft. Anyways, Meteor Flight now escorting the bombers back, realizing, oh shit, that's a lot of fighter craft. I better get out of here. Gorgon Flight going to do a bit of standoff duty. Nice to see the air controller on the ANS side moving their assets over, starting to pick off a little bit of voodoo here and there where they can, using this very expensive SCMs on both sides. Actually, these are Tornadoes, which I think are 4-pointers. Meteor Flight is engaged. Noak goes, recognizing the situation on something or other here. That's a heck of a furball to kick off this game. All right. Well, let's see just what the ANS can square up with as we just look at this massive furball kicking off here. Hello. Just gonna screenshot that. Can't tell anything about that, but yeah. The EO lunge, says Noak, recognizing the game when they see it. All right, Voodoo Flight is getting their brakes kind of beat off them here. 5 killed already in exchange for 3 on the side of the ANS. ANS engaging multiple of these at once. Paying a bit of a premium there, coil guns and those EO lunges. Definitely having a good time splashing those fighters at the same time. There is more where that came from on the OSP side. Coil guns and this nice engagement from multiple different flights and the supportive fire of a bunch of the like various assets around. I think it was... No, was it you? No, you haven't fired your thing, so maybe they aren't anti-craft munitions. Anyways, good engage there from the ANS, bringing in multiple assets, picking off some of the enemy to start off with, and then going from there. Looks like HIMARS over here is eating a million grape shots as Small Goodman peeks over. More DACA living up to its name for certain. Damn, this thing is perforated. All right. So, unfortunately, that is... Wow, it's still alive. What the hell? Damage control team lucking out there, not getting themselves completely cooked off. Doesn't quite have the damage raised to break through this, although still with a little bit of follow-up shot here, maybe one of these will get lucky and smack it out. Is slowly drifting into cover, so it might be out of line of sight, but still that is a Corvette that is pretty well perforated, completely redded. I am so amazed this thing did not lose all its damage control teams to that. Anyways, HIMARS going to find something else on the edge of the map here. The Only Light in the Silent Void. That is a name for a ship. Where are you guys finding these? Goddamn. Anyways, jammer on target here. Huntress does ping through and detect this destroyer. Destroyer in turn is going to say, hi, I've got a beam. How do you do, sir? Just barely out of that range, judging by the bracketing here, although they're trying to drive as fast as they can towards it, hitting those flank thrusters, see if you can get a kill. I'm liking seeing these Huntress shuttles. They're not something we see super commonly, but it's kind of an interesting omnidirectional radar tech compared to something more directional like the early warning. Anyways, little exchange of hands looks like it's going off here as we're going to see one of the value judgments is going to commit here. The, what's this? The Mount Blanc over here. Going to be firing off its guns, then immediately getting lit up in return as the 450 fight begins proper. HIMARS does lose the king down here. So 8 point is going to remain neutral as both teams just kind of are posturing, keeping that area on standby. Seeing a 6,000 point ANS kind of frontline committing to this area. They're starting to push up, and OSP's going, oh shit, that's a lot of tonnage. We better give a little bit of ground here. Have to think twice about their engages. Small Goodman going to be rotating over here. Unfortunately, blocked by the rock right now, trying to do a little bit of flak DECA into these Falcon Tanto flights. See how well that works. A couple of little damage ticks there, but not as much as you would really be wanting for that. EO Lunge Ahoy, going after Fencer Flight here. We'll see if it finds its way home or not. There's some interception attempts being said. Nope. Boop, goes into a missile, and that's unfortunate. Damn, a lunge is like 5 points to begin with, plus then the EO is like 8 points on top of that. That's gotta be like a 13-point missile. I hate to see that whiff. Anyways. OSP maintains a bit of their kind of... maybe not like most advantage, but they do have some very good scouting there, keeping eyes on the edge of the map. We see it now, the advantage of one of these shuttles being very fast, able to run along at 52 here, able to outpace that beam destroyer trying to get after it. Okay, here's some tornadoes trying to go after Rook over here. Does actually splash that. I'm quite surprised. Usually these skiffs have nose guns. Did they forget to bring those? Usually a nose gun shoots down an SDM like that, so we'll see if that was just a awkward moment with the firing angles or if it just didn't correctly engage or what. Anyways, minimal damage dealt to the Cello here, but that's kind of to be expected. It is playing the long-range dodge game, and it does have a yard drive here for a little extra linear thrust. Thought it might be a Raider, but no, they've elected to go a little lighter on that. Anyways, frontline has committed here. We see a little bit of damage being dealt here from that 250 broadsider. Does not need plasma to have some effect on target. Still, with 11 teams in this thing and the shots that it's getting in, not the most damage you're finding here. Track quality, not the greatest either. Looks like a couple of those were whiffing off to the side or were dodged otherwise. That plasma is starting to bite now as it's going to be firing off here. Does have a lot of cooldown distance, so it's not going to be as effective as up close, but still, that is 64 rounds of plasma catching this thing in the broadside. Going to see a bunch of plasma strip going off there in front of this thing. That is the can opener effect that one of those Thronglers has. It's even called Throngler TM. Might want to change your names on that because the enemy can read that. Have to be careful of those. You can nickname them if you don't want to have that revealed. Still now, the immediate response to any time that ANS capitals have plasma shot at them is to shoot the plasma ship in return. Seeing all of these 450 HE rounds coming after this thing, and T-81s are not the toughest thing in the world. Already the front of the ship getting it bruised pretty badly there. It's a frontline fight committing. Both air controllers are kind of just hanging out over here. Impulse Flight is up, going for a illumination run. They've got some bombs and some size 1s. So this is committed for strike. Let's see where we go with these things. Here we go. Size 1 strike going off. Going to see some chaff deployed here in turn. T-20s are not firing. I don't think that these things have any... Well, that was an impact. Yeah, I don't think they have flak. That's unfortunate. Flak can be quite useful for seeing off lighter fighter threats like that. Unfortunately, this is going to be eating a shot there, taking out a chaff launcher. Bombs ahoy. These should miss, given the ship is in motion. We will see if it's fast enough. A couple of them going to whiff there. Other ones look like they might be on target. One good impact. Make that 2-3. Okay, that is going to be the ship drives. Can they finally kill it off, though, is the question. This thing does remain here being a little radar nuisance with that Track correlated Bridge Master. That's not something you see very often, but kind of interesting. Plasma certainly does get attention here. Correct call there. Nokek is firing 450 AP for all they got, but the noses have rotated over, recognizing the threat of this kind of closer quarters fleet. Have to be a little careful about your range brackets and play evasively. We see that the Value Judgment is not moving the fastest, wants to get his butt in gear as it is taking a little bit of chip damage across the nose. Still not quite enough critical plasma threshold to break through this thing's armor. Up top, we saw the Moral Failing got itself scorched, although that was not the one they were focusing on. I believe that maybe it's just out of range here. Small Goodman trying to work that range bracket, having to be pulled forwards here to get into the gun range here. Using AP wisely, recognizing they haven't fully can opened the ship, so wants to do as much damage as they can before the plasma fully adds up and allows you to switch over to that lovely HE/HC or Grape Shot if you want to try and go for the critical damage control killing method. Plasma in turn committing here, but this is what happens when you expose a plasma bulker. You generally get one shot off with this thing before the enemy team realizes the threat. This is target priority number 1 for these capitals, as they have just laid it low for the moment. Is kind of hiding itself behind cover here and its allied bulkers, so a little bit of get down Mr. President action there. Still though, a lot of these guns getting knocked out. Do they have restores? Yes, they have 3 of them. Still needs to restore into that large locker, otherwise you're going to lose all your restores, and then that have to be careful about your damage control, or maybe just get bombed. Hello, okay. Buckshot Flight coming in here, throwing hands. 6 bombers deployed, a bunch of torpedoes. Act CMD Val and ARAD Act just going to be completely rolling a bit of trolling here. Instant structure break, has a container stack going off. C-56 is going kaput. Damn, that was a brutal engage. Anyways, Vampire Flight starting to tango with Fencer Flight over here. Fencer outnumbered heavily on that engage, so they're going to be having a rough go at life. Amazingly, for like how many fighter craft that the OSP have, they have not had the ability to take a good fight in the skies this game. ANS Air Controller from Vine has been on the ball. Nice stuff there. Yeah. Crossfire fight, like we had seen before. Seeing these like front lines engage here, that is the perfect time as an air control or support player with missile breaks or with carriers to decide, okay, I'm going to get on the action. You've made an opening. Their attention's on you. Now is my time to move my fighter craft in and go for a big strike. In turn, it's the role of the OSP's carrier in that on the defensive to bring their own fighter craft up, either with Noek having, I believe they've got some, yeah, they're getting some of their craft up, although it just takes them a minute because journeyman. They're getting some of their stuff up, but at the same time, it's like you need to have some fighter craft in position, see off bombers like that, keep them honest in that, because damn, that thing just got rolled. Also, yeah, you have a good point there. I believe that this thing got rocket struck at some point. Yeah, it looks like Rocket Shuttle just ran forwards and taxed this thing. Good catch on that, as I was not paying attention to the ANS carrier, which is, oh dear God, this thing's out of the game. Yeah, they can repair a singular launch pad, but no magazine. Wow, that's a big catch. Okay, so looks like all you need is one. OSP going to establish control over the skies, but at what cost? Small Goodman getting their fleet pretty beat up here. The Plasma Throngler got shot to shit, and then this bit of trolling over here, the 250 Bulker got heavily torped, so that's going to be an interesting one. Generally, best way to disable carrier from what you see is sneak up with some type of Corvette and rush it with either torpedoes or rockets. Yep. Have to be playing defensively. Try and stay relatively close to your front line. Again, you want to play as close to your front line as you can get away with, making sure you've got the minimal return times for your fighter craft and stuff, and that you have allies nearby to defend you from things like that. Unfortunately, in this case, I believe ANS was just a little lacking on the scouting department, did not detect this thing going for the run-up on them. Man, I wish I'd seen that rocket shuttle go after this. I was too distracted by the frontline engagement. That is a big pickoff, and I think the OSP knows it, since they got significant impact onto a, not a journeyman, a levy, and levies don't typically have that much in the way of damage control. I'm not sure if Vine is going to commit to repairing any of this at all. What? Just hit it. What? Oh, Talonflight coming in here, deciding, hey, let's kick them while they're down. Gets a couple of bombs off before going out. All right. That's going to be the levy just flat knocked out there right as we were looking at it. So, yeah, 3 fighter bombers just committing for that last final run. ANS has what they have in the sky, and that is it. Vampire Flight and Eagle Flight are airborne. They've got some coil guns and some bombs, but that's all she wrote. That is the OSP establishing sky control very effectively. ANS in turn has a frontline advantage as they beat up Small Goodman pretty well there. Nokek looking pretty healthy over here in the backline. Again, a lot of points here put into that support style. So we see that Noek has a, maybe not an expensive journeyman, but still a dedication of their fleet budget here. Most of it is otherwise tied up in shuttles, and then Poopit going to come in with that 3K. So they know they have the advantage in the skies. It is on them now to commit all of the bombers they can to possibly try and open up various avenues. Ooh, beams for good measure. The Mordaka is going to be having a really bad go at life here. That beam on target. See, HIMARS immediately is getting retaliated at by some plasma and 100 mil. Still, though, the Mordaka is having a rough go at life. One of its turrets still alive. Citadel magazine getting redded out there. DC storage about to follow up. HIMARS is a big fan of these beam destroyers. I've seen them do some great work, holding down that battle short button, cooking away at a target here, knowing they had the opportunity. Oh no, better call Small Goodman. Ah, look at him, he's been torched. No! Anyways, recognizing the situation, they're going to be trying to move a capper onto the A point. Looks like they do, in fact, get that cap off and then step off slightly. One of the beam destroyers, I believe, was pulled out of position. Yeah, Best Girl here was pulled back from the overwatch of the A point to the seaside defense. Fortunately, a little too late to save that carrier. Vampire Flight engages, knowing they need to get something done this game. We see Rocket Flight, in turn, has a bunch of the air control loadouts here, 35 mil and 20 mil. Looks like Vampire Flight eating pretty good here, gets a little bit of a leg up, and then starts picking them off one by one. Rocket Flight tried to meet them head on and got taxed immediately for that, not quite having the numbers advantage they might want. Still, though, you can group up quite a few fighters here. I'm just kind of curious what Poopit is planning for their next stage. They've got some Barracuda still left in the bank. Don't look like they're currently prepping anything. Wasp Flight kitted up over here with no... What happened to Wasp Flight? Why did they launch without anything? Maybe a loadout issue from Poopit's side there. This has happened as people refit their loadouts and stuff. For Test Branch, they sometimes forget to check the ammo box and making sure that they've got all the stuff they want. Anyways, a couple of missiles going off here as we see Vampire Flight getting engaged. There we go, STM. A little desync, but it does splash one of these things, going to show you can contribute supportive fire. Now is the real problem, as Vampire Flight has got coil guns here with only a little bit of ammo left. They're very strong for those 10 shots that they get, but once they're out of ammo, they are basically just dead, because as soon as you get into dogfight and you can't fight back, you're in for a rough time. Gorgon Flight saying something. Hi, hello, Perch Rocket Pods and some bombs to follow up. Perch Rockets maybe not the most effective against a target that's full armor, but with enough of them and some plasma, you can definitely punch out that beam in the nose. There we go. Dearest Friend over here having a rough go at life as it is getting smacked from the side. Nice engagement from Gorgon coming in here, hitting this thing from 2 angles. Occupied in the front with those bulkers and then getting the strike on the sides there. Dearest Friend having a very rough time. It should see this thing get broken. There you are. Structure break is in effect. Going to see these guns finish that off. What is the ANS team doing in the meantime? Their 450 boats are all on Safari, committing 6,000 points towards a D-side push here. I do kind of like it, but I think this is the wrong angle to go about this. I think that they need to stay in the fight. By going out here, they are basically taking the entire ANS front line away from the center engagement, giving OSP the entire run of the map through the center line. You don't need 6 Axfords to go this route. You can definitely get away with just 2. Sending them on flanking paths can be quite powerful as well. Currently, the OSP front line is not engaged at all. It has been given time to recover, which is not what you want to be seeing. Things like these large storages, although this one did not get used, you definitely can end up like going to ground, recovering a little bit of your stuff, repair, rearm, resupply, all that stuff. So you don't really want to be giving them free run of that. ANS needs to constantly be in the fight. Their ships are getting damage over time versus the OSP does damage mainly in bursts when they peek out of rocks, get their autoloaders firing, and then go back to ground. In this case, the ANS not really getting any damage value over here. They're just kind of on Safari. Now they do engage over here. We're going to see the Meowth Blank over here has rotated its nose, knows about this threat thanks to the good radar coverage we see on the side of the map here. That Huntress shuttle paying its dues as it is able to keep all of these things on track over here. So with that being said, they know the ANS is out of position. What is OSP going to do about it? If they are wise, we'll see someone like Small Goodman start pushing up middle like they are now. They know that this beam destroyer is heavily wounded from those rocket strikes and the gunfire they did. So it's going to be them pushing up this way, looking towards getting on B point or C point here as ANS just kind of... I just want to say that, like, I understand why they want to do this, keep themselves together for a little bit of safety security. I know that Jiro is one of the newer players, and I believe they're partnered with Star for the laning for this. Just kind of a newer player onboarding experience thing. Love to see that. Same time, though, I think this is a tactical misplay, committing this many assets onto a point that's relatively lightly defended. You need to be still keeping yourself in the fight, contesting. If you saw a split off here, like some of the Axfords push towards D point, other ones stay mid, and then they try and keep these bulkers honest. I think that would be a bit of a better engagement. Fortunately, it looks like they've... what the fuck is going on here? Okay, so the furball indicator is apparently a little bit confused about who is fighting who right now. Gorgon and Vampire kind of towing the line with each other, deciding who wants to dance or not. Gorgon, in turn, has... Yep, they were doing the strike there. They were thinking about it, saying, hey, buddy, don't fluff with me. I won't fluff with you. And then Vampire Flight says, all right, fine. You guys go home. All right, anyways, the double task force Oak formation needs to get onto that point sooner rather than later. They are currently playing the dodge stance game. They are not flanking either, so that's, I think that's just Jiro not being as experienced with kind of the flank play. You can soak flank damage pretty well with your frontline assets. 11 damage control teams is generally good enough. These have radar drive, so it's increased damage chance, but that's not a big deal. need to be getting into the fight here, need to move themselves up. We see Star following up here as well. They have the tonnage to just completely bulldoze through this OSP asset. They just need to commit onto that fight and give it to them. They know that the enemy has air control and that they are on the clock before those bombers get up to critical mass and then run a bunch of rockets and stuff. We're seeing some of these pikes down here designating targets, making that very accurate fire for the OSP team. Love to see that, and unfortunately, there's not really much in the way of air control assets to intercept this. No ACMs or enemy fighters that will have to be on position or have to be on station to intercept those, because again, Vampire is what you see, what you got. These guys have a little fuel and a little ammo, but not the most there, so if they tried to commit to that, they would likely get cleaned up by these ACMs or enemy fighters. Okay, some size 1s deployed here. HE frags going after something. I believe that was an AMM attempt. Looks like HIMARS is knocked out with their beam destroyer here. Vine does still have this frigate waiting back here in the wings. I am wondering where this thing's payload went off to, because we saw it fire at some point. Might have been those were the interception missiles trying to go after the Throngler and defend it. Wasn't quite sure what those missiles ended up being. There's so many things going on in this game, it's kind of hard to keep track of it all. Another beam destroyer here, the Best Girl, is trying to rotate in. Throngler currently sees them. Let's see if Throngler is on target or not. Is trying to rotate itself, not quite getting it. Jammer is pointed over here, trying to see off the, what's this, little T-20 Capper shuttle that shoots a little bit there. All right. Anna's team is playing dodge stance offensively. They need to commit to this. Like, they need to know they have a 6,000 point tonnage advantage and that the enemy does not have that much over here. Get onto that D point and start throwing hands. Go close quarters. It does not matter. If the enemy wants to try and play this dodge stance long range game, you don't let them. Know that you have 6,000 point of sledgehammer here and commit it. Seeing them currently firing at tugs here, knowing they get a bit better effect on target than onto something like, say, the Ocello, which can generally soak with its nose thrusters and reinforcement stack up here. Still, though, the tugs just having the rotato game here. This is public test branch. Yep, we have a sticky there, so if anyone is interested, that will show you the public test branch and the server we're currently playing on, Area 11. So just read the notes, and then you can hop in for the next game if y'all want to play. All right, a little bit of interception goes down there, as I believe that they wandered a bit too close to the sun. The Exploring Infinite Skies here with its Bavis and some size 1s looks like it has seen off all but one of Vampire Flight. Damn. Find it interesting. Normally, in most games, players are overconfident and ooga booga into objectives. Notice the Nebulous are really cagey. Okay, so the best way to describe it is that newer players tend to play like bipolar turtles. They are either going to be like really, really defensive. They don't want to go anywhere. They're super hiding in their shell. But at the same time, sometimes as like they get into a fight, they just forget everything and decide, you know what? Fucking send it. And that's when we see the complete flip over as you get somebody with like a beam battleship just saying, hey guys, I'm going to rush them. And everyone says, no, don't rush them. He says, I'm going to rush them. Then he rushes them. Either he takes 30,000 damage or they take 30,000 damage. There's no in between. The most shipment battleship. Anyways, jammers are doing some work over here trying to keep the ANS from recognizing just how much threat is on the board. I believe that the Ocello is still seen through all this, and I think the tugs might be showing up as well. Still, that's a good chunk of jammer to have to punch through. Does break locks as well, which is important for accuracy. I'm amazed that NoKick is able to hold back this 6,000 point push. They really just need to go and roll over them at this stage, because they have to look at the board and say, okay, we did good numbers against those bulkers. The enemy's got a lot of air control. We've scouted out most of the frontline fleets. Do an asset count. What do they got? They've got an Ocello. They had 3 bulkers. Had past tense. 2 of them are now in the dirt. And the last one is this Throngler, which is currently unsupported. Best Girl over here getting some work done. Does lose its forward beam, unfortunately. Needs to get that thing fixed up as it is doing currently. Still able to get a lot of beam damage. HIMARS eating quite good with that pseudo frontline fleet that they're now having to play with the beam destroyer. They do have another capper here moving towards A point, trying to see off some of these threats. Little minimal investment naked capper guy here, just bridge master, a rapid ox and stuff. Has that chaff box here for a hey, I'm dangerous missile. That is just a ceremonial arming 1-pointer missile. Keeps them offensively capable, so that can matter in the late game. 450 starting to kind of go off here. Again, negligible damage on the Ocello, has not been focus fired, has not been locked either, as we see they're just suffering trying to get through all of this jamming here. Good usage of the jam tugs here, keeping the ANS team honest. Again, this is where you would love to have some scouting from the offset, able to punch through with that, so you're able to get your bullseye lock on target. Now finally getting onto D point, but I think that might be a little too late. ANS took a long time rotating through here. They hesitated when they got shot at. You have to recognize your advantage and lever it. You cannot be afraid in capitals. This has been an issue we've documented repeatedly. It's not necessarily an issue with the ANS capital. It's more so the hand guiding it. You need to be a little more aggressive with your capitals. Plasma is a threat, but at the same time, we saw just how fast that plasma liner got opened up on by 6,000 points of frontline. Have to be jockeying a little bit, trying to push out the enemy. Is a 5-cap situation right now. That is worth noting. Yeah, OSP flying ahead on points. ANS commits their entire frontline to capping a singular point. OSP says, oh, if you're going to put 6,000 points of frontline in one spot, well, we'll just take the entire map then. HIMARS putting in good work with the defensive assets they have in this defensive cap plate here. 3 beam destroyers and then a couple of Elan scouts, but still, that is not the situation you want to find yourself in, where all of your frontline is in one spot, only controlling singular area of the battle space. Need to go a little bit wider, split off your forces, recognize, okay, where do we draw ourselves here? HIMARS saying, I swear if this is a pike. I think HIMARS is looking, yep, here we go. That's going to be a pike coming around the corner. Probably going to be trying to get a lock onto this one. Is it designated target? There we go. Vren's breadstick. Ahoy. That is going to be fired off towards a skiff by the looks of it. Okay. You see another one of these things fired off here. That is This is typically an anti-bomber munition. It says it's going to find a skiff that does, in fact, have a nose gun. Let's see how good this shot is. Pop. That's why you don't shoot missiles at skiffs. Whee. Anyways, missiles ahoy. We're going to see a whole bunch of R1 rockets going out here. Smack into this thing. Does not get the stone wall on target in time, unfortunately. That's going to be a lot of damage. The air having a very rough go at life there. Does not get broken, although these bombs might do that. R1 purchase combined with these bombs or R2 follow-ups can definitely knock out a ship. Yom. Yes, I'm aware of the keystone. Don't worry about it. Bloop. There we are. Keystone over here just getting flanked and opened up on as it's lit up a little bit there from the side. Seeing Ballista, Flight, and Assassin also coming out here to play. So that is going to be, once again, the front line getting freely taxed here. Noak, that's actually a good point. Noak, what are you doing? Hey, no, get the fuck out of the stream. You're in the game. Shoot, go, shoot, go. Yeah, check the spray bottles. Get out of here. Probably just flicking over with a chat box. Anyways, yeah, big bombing strike set up there from either Poopit or Nokek. That's going to be the beam destroyer getting smacked around there. So Ballista, Flight, and Assassin are going to be committing on this. Again, this is a common issue with ANS. Frontline, when it is not engaged, means that the OSP has free run of the map. They're able to run up onto the capper assets and the carrier like that. You need to be doing what we talked about before, which is pressure and presence. Still, ANS actually took pretty good fight in the immediate start of the game. They squared off against the bulkers. Yeah, they got plasma'd at one point, but they immediately retaliated against that, smacked them around, and basically just went to town for that. But you know what? Actually, hang on a second. Don't make me time you out of here, Noak. I will ban you for 1 hour if you have to be trying to. You have to be trying to play the game and hop into chat. Get out of here. No. Good sportsmanship. Don't be stream sniping. Get out of here. Shoot. Bad. Spray bottles. Yeah. Yeah. That's spray mode I get. Yeah. Match is over. I don't care if the match is over, Noak. Be a good sport about it. Don't be in the stream if you're still in the game. We got rules around here, and we follow them. You're here too. Match is done. All right. I'm just saying, folks. Again, if you're in the game, don't be looking at the stream. That's good manners. OSP is going to take it. ANS committed too much of their stuff onto the D point there. It is kind of an unfortunate thing. This does happen sometimes. ANS does not draw their front lines wide enough. Unfortunately, they get themselves a little bit too concentrated into one point. They will cap a point, but they will give up the entire map for it. So a little bit of an oopsies there just on the tactical side. Anyways, that's going to be the post game. Attack the D point! All right. Still, though, did see some good engages, so ANS was kind of on the right route there. They were picking a frontline fight they wanted, lost their carrier to a rocket shuttle that came I believe it was unseen from the angle it took, so have to watch out for your various scouting and screening assets there. ANS just making a couple of blunders there, got punished for it. OSP recognized situation and then went around to the different angles that they could work. So we saw them getting some bombing runs off against the various destroyers. We saw them taking out the levy with a lucky strike there, so have to watch out for those things. Got to keep your scouting up. ANS a little bit light on some of their lighter assets. I believe there was only the 3 corvettes from HIMARS, so that is some of their scouting that those things did get picked off early on. Compare this to the OSP side, where we saw, I think it was Noak had a bunch of those. What was it? It's T20. Where are those Huntress shuttles? Is it this one? No, I don't think it's that one. Guys beyond. Yeah, here we go. This is a Huntress shuttle. So yeah, these things very good for doing that kind of scouting duty. 10 kilometers tracking, can burn through, detect some stuff. So yeah. All right. That was a interesting fighter engaged. Yeah. Yeah, fighter engaged was kind of cool. Yeah. Noak just going with a interesting kind of supportive capping build here, where they've got themselves a light carrier going at 1.33. So that's a dedication of your team's budget. I think that's Don't do math on stream, kids, but I would say that's like 40% of a 3K. So a bunch of that put into the carrier here, able to do some light strike duty, and then getting just a whole bunch of utility out of these various shuttles around the map. Just always having something to throw onto a back cap point or keep awareness. So yeah. Vine's saying, what's a massive fighter engagement? Vine's like, I saw the Ruddle and just like failed to register. Yeah, so Vine, the carrier player there, was just like, oh, it's just a shuttle. I'm not too worried about that. OSP has shuttles all over the place. Oh, fuck, that's a rocket shuttle. Oh, no. Lord out, good evening to you, too. We are just finishing up this match. Just all ASF Tantos. I believe that it was, yeah, so we saw 9 Claymores in here and then 20 Tantos in total. Some of them were the 20 mil nose gun variety. Others were the 15 mil coil gun. Unfortunately, ANS carrier did get cleaned up there. Still, though, we got to see some interesting air battles there. Tantos winning pretty evenly against the OSP's Barracudas. That said, Tantos did pay the premium. They were going with some of those munitions like the, where is it? I think it was engagement 50 they had, right? Yeah, that looks like the victory they found, so. Committed to that. Had a bunch of, I think it was the EO lunges on these. Was it these guys? Yeah, here we go. So, super expensive premium being paid for these Tantos, coil gun and EO lunge. EO lunge is incredibly expensive, and I would not recommend it. Command lunge is generally just more efficient. That said, EO lunge is kind of funny for the sake of it, but yeah. Dogfight was 8 coil Tantos with 2 EO lunges, 4 20 mil Tantos size ones, and 4 strike Tantos with 20 mil. So again, that is paying for that aerial victory there, as each of these EO lunges, I think, costs as much as a Barracuda. It certainly feels like it, because that's like 8 points of the missile. No, 8 points of the Seeker, and there's like 5 points for the missile, I think. That seems right, but yeah, it is a expensive premium to pay there. Definitely OSP could come out on top if they committed with some of the equal cost investment there, and that's just decided to pay for their win with that. Poopit correct calling, just Jesus fucking Christ, yeah, you won that in editor and that. So anyway, so get ready up and get into another match. I'm gonna have to run an ad break intermission between matches, so that'll give us a 3-minute break to grab water and stuff. But yeah. I just walked 14 Kudas and did 20 Tantos loaded for ASF. Yep, so again, Tantos do have improved performance now. They've got increased lock range. They've got a wingman mechanic, so they team up more naturally against the Barracudas. Same time, though, on OSP, you can field a lot of Barracudas and bring some other nasty assets. You can have some Barracudas with SDMs, or you can even have your Sturgeon bombers equipped with them if you want to be fancy. So a lot of different options there. This was not a case of one is automatically better than the other. This is a case of the ANS player paid the premium and engaged in a kind of head-on fight here with multiple different assets contributing. So they were able to tax out the OSP very quickly early on, force them to evade, and then they committed into the kind of furball engagement where they managed to find some favorite ground. Combination of those 15mm coil guns and the 20mm nose guns working very well there. You want to have a little bit of both because coil guns do run out of ammo decently fast, and 20mm also kills incredibly quickly. If we take a look at these things, it only takes like 4 bullets to hit with the 20mm to kill off a strike craft. And considering that these things fire like 1,000 rounds per minute, that's a pretty fast time to kill. So, all right, we're just waiting on Vine to ready up there, and we'll get into another match. So, I was a little worried ANS might have like a little bit of rough go at it. It looked like they were doing pretty well to start off with, and then unfortunately just little tactical error on their part, bungled their carrier, ended up going on Safari too much with their front line there, a little bit outside of the map. Looks like, there we go, ranks taking a second to load up. Okay, we'll try and get some people shuffled and tagged in. There we go. Yeah, just saying, let's shuffle the teams up a little bit in that, so we'll get some of this going and stuff. Got too scared of the plasma, not used to running C8. Yep, so again, that's the case where a lot of people, they get scared by plasma, and as you guys correctly retaliated, as soon as the plasma shot you, all of the ANS's guns looked at it and said, oh, you're gonna die. That is why Thronglers, I say generally doctrine-wise, you have to consider them single-use. You get one good burst, and you gotta make sure it counts, because otherwise, every battery on the ANS team is gonna look at you funny. So, have to be careful about that. Again, you have to remember, as the front line, it is your job to take hits like that. You have the armor, so you better use it. You can take some damage, take a little bit of the plasma there, kind of shuffle things around.